Okay, let's go ahead and get started so we don't back up the other demonstrations that we have scheduled for today. This is Dr. Harris, CEO of UEIS, and I'm here to demonstrate our RTI system, which stands for Response Intervention Information System. If you're using version 1.2, you have a 5-feature system that provides create new report, access student reports, longitudinal student reports so you can see the growth of students, the quantitative, which allows you to quantify information whether at the school level, a classroom level, the district level, on elements that are predefined within the RTIS, and the qualitative, that information that obviously is narrative. Now, if you're using 2.1, there is the 6th element, which is the BIS, the Behavior Information System, which connects or gathers information from our iPhone application. Again, you have a built-in training tutorial that's built into all the pages. The system comes with mail. System comes with a scheduling system. We also, in addition to that, you have a folder section, so additional records that you need to keep or forms themselves. In addition to that, updates on what's going on with the system. Now, to grab a student, you can do it several different ways. You can select a teacher. You can do a fuzzy search, and it will list students based on the fuzzy search, or you can just ask for all the students' names in the teacher's class. So what we're going to do now, select this student here, and we're going to create a new report. Now, as you see here, this should look very familiar to you, and that's why we did this. It looks very similar to the Student Success Team form itself. Now, obviously, very much more robust and it's electronic, but we wanted to provide teachers with something that's easy to learn. So what we have here is our student information that pre-populates from our SIS system, or it can come from the district's SIS system as well. Now, when you consider the SST, we have the initial information, the strength, the child, what they do well at home, what they do well at school, and what we want to do is we want to list those here in its narrative form. If this were a dissertation, you could copy and paste a 600-page dissertation into one of these boxes, and it's not going to be too much information. It may be a lot to read, but not too much information. Now, if you kind of remember the concept of the SST, which again, gives us the whole concept of the child, it allows you to do things such as identify who the child lives with, whether they're a part of the state, the ward, social services, or with family, extended family, things of that nature. In addition to that, it's always going to allow you that opportunity to type information. In addition to that, number of siblings, relationship with siblings, how you live with the siblings. As you move down, you also have that information related to work. Very important. You need to know, who's supporting the child when they get home from school. When you're talking about how they can get additional support at home, you can just discuss shifts, things of that nature. Obviously, before you can get into academics, you want to make sure that you recognize the problem may not be academics, but it could be just something such as vision or hearing. So we want to be able to document that information as well and tie into any insurance systems that you may have. In addition to that, depending on the provider itself, we may be able to do that for you because we're having a lot of success and we're working with outside medical providers so that we can tie in information. Okay, let's move along. As we move down, we have our academic performance area. Now, it depends on how you communicate or you show, whether it's a Likert scale, whatever proficiency you use for reading. It could be intensive, benchmark, or strategic. We make that modification for you free of charge. Now, in addition to that, when you start to get into the elements, let's look at the elementary aspect of it, of reading. We talk about what's good as far as it could be good phonemic awareness or poor phonemic awareness. Now, obviously, the system allows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are so many different elements. We know at least 5 that deal with the reading blocks of reading, so you can document that. In addition to that, it can be communication, which can more so go into language and speech. In addition to that, our system offers intervention. Now, this is very unique. Think to yourself, what information system do you have that provides you information about the interventions that are going on in the classroom? Whether it could be learning center within a school, in-class tutoring, peer tutoring, it could be, Voyager work, it could be small group instruction, IWT. Now think about that. How many of your systems provide you with information related to the interventions that go on in the classroom? Okay, next, let's look at the ELD. It allows you to provide that ELD information on the level itself. Now, we also know that RTI can be for students that are gifted and with students with special needs. So we also allow you to provide that type of information so that we have a better context or understanding of the child itself. Okay, let's move on back up here to the top as we move on. So again, we look at the strengths of the child. We know that known information of the child. Our academic behavior information, this can simply tie in from a state or district information system. Now, as we move down, we look at some of the RTI information. Whether you're using Dibbles, which is an excellent system, or you're using Voyager, this is where these big consulting firms that say they do RTI, this is their focus right here. This is the data that they continue to dwell on. So the difference between our system is we can take their information, we can provide you with that type of information, but you cannot forget that the reason that they're scoring here poorly or successfully could be because of something that's going on at home, or it can be related to health as well. So we want to make sure that you do not forget that the child is more than just numbers itself. Now, we talked about our iPhone application, the BIS information system. One of the elements here is you can document the type of behaviors that the child may exhibit in the classroom, whether it's in a structured setting or if they're unstructured, in other words, they're working one-on-one. So you can go here, select a particular behavior of a child, let's say and motivate it. Now, what's unique about these drop-downs is they reflect the PRIM, the Pre-Referral Intervention Manual, and when we get down to the play area, the structured social and the unstructured social, they reflect the BIM, the Behavior Intervention Manual as well. So once you've identified what the behavior is, you can always go to that resource to come up with a particular strategy. Now, as you move on throughout the system, you may have an attendance information system. So we're using one that just shows how we can connect to your information system, what type of attendance, where they're coming from, tardies, attendances, things of that nature. You always want to consider that, because if they don't have enough schooling, obviously that can affect their performance in school. Now, we consider the barriers here, whether it's social maladjustment, lack of instruction, obviously, because if you have to consider that this child may receive special services, well, you need to consider the barriers as well. So let's move across here. We talked about our academics, which came from far over here. We can discuss our behaviors again, and again, we're going to select unmotivated, and what we're going to do is we're going to move on and complete this RTIS entry for this particular child. We are more than halfway through. Now, we didn't record much, obviously, but what we want to do is make sure that we don't forget what we had on the first page. So when we looked at our previous focal points, the focal points, as you see, transfer over, so we don't lose the concept or the context of what we're looking at. So we're looking at behavior here. Now, if we go back up here to the top, after you've identified that behavior, now's your time to ask those reflective questions and discuss possible solutions. Now, when we get down to those solutions, we here talked about behavior, but I also want to show you our academics as well. If it were academic, you'd be able to select where you want the instruction to occur. We're going to move down a little bit, and we're going to show you our goal bank. It's one thing to say we want a child to improve in reading, but let's select. Okay, so let's go down to our particular grade, and in the background I'm starting to query down. Let's select language arts. Let's select so we're going to do reading. And within that, now we've queried from first grade to language, specifically reading, and we're going to select the standard that's specific to reading in language arts in this particular grade level. So now we have that populated. In addition to that, what type of accommodations do we need to make sure we can get this done? Now we want to discuss the date. Now, how soon do we expect this particular child to be able to master this particular goal? And within that, we can also break it down into objectives, as you can see as well. Now, we have our frequency, so we want to be able to say how often should the child be able to do this before we feel that the child's doing well. Okay, and then you hit your add goal. Okay. In addition to that, we also provide you with the behavior support plan. We talked to you about the BIS. We still provide elements of the BIS within our 1.2 version. So what you'd be able to do is select the behavior, how you want it to be worked on. So we're going to say counseling. Now, what it does is it walks you through a behavior support plan, day of the week that it may be happening, or if it's all days of the week, the setting that it may be happening. Maybe the classroom, reading room, it could be the gym, the subject matter if that's applicable, persons present at the time that this is happening, and as we move through the process itself, the frequency, the intensity, the activity, whether it's the stimuli, is it too much, too little, it really gets into the specifics of just knowing why we seek particular behaviors. It supports you as you determine what the student reaction is to what you're doing. It allows you to document or to say what you want the replacement behavior to be, which can come from your BIM, your Behavior Intervention Manual. From there, it allows you to create the goal, the objectives, and then obviously you would submit that. And if you're using 2.1, then that would go to the iPhone application, and you'd immediately start to document. The SST or the RTIS also provides those SST elements that allow you to say who's responsible. So if we're going to talk about the Learning Center, well then let's just say the school administrator is going to be responsible to making sure the child gets to that. When will that service begin? You select that time. Let's just say it's an administrator, so let's say just the next day. In addition to that, you continue to move on, and members of team that were present at the meeting, how they attended the particular meeting, obviously very important, and to be able to initial so that you know who was at that particular meeting as well. This is just a snapshot of how our RTIS system works. obviously we talked about, you saw those drop downs, there's over 100 drop downs. So let's just go to quantitative reports just real quick. From the quantitative reports, you can select a school or a district, a particular teacher, and from there you can select one of the drop downs and it will tell you. And so if you're at the district level and you want to find out how many children were living in foster care, you'd select that and it would populate all those students' names that have received a response intervention team interdisciplinary meeting, and that will provide you that information that you need. So this is just a snapshot of our RTIIS.